Hello everyone, I'm Essi Prykäri.
My name is Riikka Sinisalo.
And we're information specialists at LUT Academic Library in Finland. And we're going to talk about looking at LibGuides through the UX lens.
But first, a few words about our organization. LUT Academic Library is a joint library for LUT University and LUT University of Applied Sciences. We were established in 2019 when Lappeenranta and Lahti Academic Libraries merged. We serve more than 14,000 students and 1,500 staff. Our fields of study are technology, business, art and design, and healthcare, and we have 21 people working at our library.
Most of you probably know that LibGuides is a web publishing and content curation platform that allows librarians to design and publish subject guides and websites easily with little coding knowledge. So in our case, both Lahti and Lappeenranta libraries had their own sets of LibGuides that were combined when the libraries merged. This was done on a fairly tight schedule, but we did have some time to do an initial evaluation of the guides based on existing research and accessibility guidelines and do some quick fixes. But we wanted to know if we were going in the right direction with these changes, and this is what started our UX journey.
Our journey had, of course, some goals, and these were to unite and standardize the two academic library LibGuides into a coherent whole. Of course, when you are on a tight schedule, then the combining has some nooks and crannies that you can't do on that time. So we wanted to have a little more knowledge on what to do to make them better. In addition, we wanted to support transformation from text-heavy manuals to more instruction-oriented services. And lastly, to curate content for the intended audience rather than the librarians. So talk straight to the staff and students, not using the library lingo. So these all aim at better user experience.
And here you can see the English front page of our LibGuides. We have the guides in both English and in Finnish because we have courses in both languages at both universities. We have nearly 60 guides in our LibGuides now.
First, we did a survey, and we did it this spring online using Webrable. And the survey was promoted through Lab Primo, which is our online catalog, LibGuides, and student service portal. We got 55 respondents, and we were quite happy with that, considering that the timetable was a bit of a late spring, so much students were already taking on their summer duties. 1/3 approximately of our respondents knew about the LibGuides, and around the same amount had already used them. So there were nearly 70% of non-users, and the main reason for non-using was not being aware of the LibGuides at all.
So in the survey, we had 10 statements about LibGuides that the participants had to rate whether they agreed or disagreed with the statement. From these statements, we found that the participants find the guides helpful with their information seeking, and that the visual layout is clear and the guide names reflect the content. But there is still room for improvement in these. Also, there aren't too many pictures or too many videos in the guide currently, so we could maybe add some of those. It was interesting to note that the participants didn't think that single pages in the guides are too long, but when we did some further testing, we found out that the pages are too long, but we will talk more about that later.
So at the same time the survey was online, we also planned our UX testing sessions. With surveys, we recruited volunteers by adding a possibility to add your own contact information if you wanted to take part in a user testing. We planned and structured the testing using previous studies, and we have linked to those studies at the end of our presentation. We wanted to streamline our most popular popular guides first. So they were the basis of the tasks, in addition to the most popular things to ask from the library. So we could offer with our guides 24/7 help, which is not available personally. And then the tasks and scripts were tested prior to the study so that we could streamline them yet a little more.
In the actual user experience testing, we had 7 participants and we did 30-minute online testing sessions with each participant. The sessions were recorded so we could go back and analyze them and see where the students clicked and what they said during the testing. In the testing, we had 8 timed tasks where we had intended paths to the correct answers. During these tasks, we asked the participants to share their screen and we encouraged them to think out loud and explain their thought process, so why they were clicking on a particular link and what they thought about the guides in general. After each task, we asked them to evaluate the findability of the information in that tasks. We also told them that they could abort each task whenever they wanted to. So if they felt that they were frustrated and didn't find the information, they could move on to the next task, because this is something that would happen in real life if they are using the guides by themselves. We also had a few semi-structured questions about the participants' overall view of LibGuides and a few background questions.
And here is an average result of the task sessions. So we kind of collected together how long the students and participants in average took to take the task, and did they succeed the way we wanted them to, and how did they evaluate the findability. It's interesting to notice that even though we had some easy warm-up questions like locating libraries' contact information through our LibGuides, there is no task that was 100% completed as we intended them to be. It doesn't mean that they weren't completed, they just did it another way we thought they would, in a roundabout way, or used our library homepage or library catalog to help, even though we were intending them to use only LibGuides. In addition, the findability evaluation, sometimes students gave quite a high evaluation to the easiness of finding things, even though they didn't find the answer we wanted them to find. So there are interesting aspects in the testing that was discovered.
Okay, and here are a few results that are specific to our web page. So the students really liked the front page. They thought it was clean and simple, and they said that it's a good thing that there are links, so the links would take them straight to the information that they need. They also liked the icons on the page. They said that they're noticeable and really drew their attention. There were also a few negative comments. Some of our guides are only in English, and these English guides are also linked to the Finnish front page. So when the students went and clicked on the English guides, they were really confused. They thought there was something wrong with the settings of their computer or with the LibGuide settings, and they wanted to know why this wasn't in Finnish, why all of a sudden the language changed. So this is something that we definitely need to address. Either have information on the landing page of the guide explaining that this guide is only in English, or do a translation of the guide. We also had some comments about text-heavy pages, that there's just too much text and too many boxes, that they wouldn't read all this information if they were looking for just a specific thing. So that is something that we also need to look into.
And here are some things that are maybe a little more generalizable. So you could think if they would benefit your own library's LibGuides. First of all, students do not scroll pages. Our warm-up question about the library contact information, the info was on the footer of the page, but usually students studying remotely have their own laptops and the screens are rather small, so it is not visible in a glimpse, so it's not there. they do not scroll down. Students might not navigate further than the guides landing page. From the LibGuides landing page, for example, there is a link to business field specific guide, and then they click that, but not go into the tabs further. They just want to see if it's here on the first landing page. So we should focus on giving an overview of the contents in the landing page. That was seen as a very important thing. Site navigation in our testing group was a bit easier to use than the tab navigation. And even though some students said out loud that they do like the tabs, they were still quite eagerly using the site navigation. So according to this group of people, maybe the site navigation has its gains, and maybe it's a little more visible than the tab navigation. But of course, both has their uses. One should avoid library jargon even more, even though we've kind of wanted to do that, and we were trying to be very, very approachable, but there are still things that might not be so clear to students, like digital collections or electronic resources and those kind of terms. Students really don't differentiate between LibGuides and library catalogs, so they very eagerly jump from one to another, which is of course a good thing in a way, but it also renders the LibGuides own search function very irrelevant, because students don't think of it as a different service. They are thinking of the whole library services. And if you use the LibGuides search, of course, you cannot find library materials with that. You just find the guide contents from the specific guide you're on. So that is a bit of an issue. So maybe it's the possibility to hide the search box, or somehow make it a bit more visual, a bit more clear that it's not searching collections, it's just searching guides.
So what's next for us? Well, as we discovered, the LibGuides aren't as well known as we assumed, so we need to do more promotion and marketing. So in the autumn, when we have new students coming in, we will have a campaign and maybe include LibGuides in the welcome pack for new students. We also noticed that housekeeping needs to be done regularly. We have kind of done this, but it really does need to be scheduled into the calendar. We noticed that there were some dead links and out-of-date information in the guides. They become more visible and more clear when you look at the guides through someone else's eyes, and you see different navigation paths than the ones that you're used to yourself. Also, we need to review the structure guides. Guide structure, as Riikka mentioned, maybe get rid of the tabs and move to side navigation altogether. We also need to focus on guide and tab names. Even though in the survey, students said that the names reflect the content quite well, we did notice that some guide names could be clearer, and we could add more information about the content. We also need to focus on the landing page and maybe add some links between the guides. We were also thinking that it would be interesting to do a follow-up survey. So maybe use the same online survey that we had this spring after we've done the revisions to the guides, and see if they have actually helped with the user experience. And here you can see the other UX studies that we mentioned that we used as inspiration for our study.
Thank you.
Thank you.